perfect. Except yesterday I went to a different Starbucks and they messed it up. And I survived. How about that?
Right. Well, I don't know. How is it like something difficult about making tea? Or because I noticed that when I went out to California, my cousin uses like at least two tea bags to make her tea.
Because she likes
so
it strong. I like it strong too.
Yeah, she likes a strong tea. And she
I want
puts
to
it in.
feel it. When I drink it, I want to sit there and be like, like it's for medicinal purposes, not just for the taste. It's like I want to feel the taste of my tea.
How does green tea make you feel?
It like wakes me up. It like, but
so just like
but
a
it's
shot of caffeine.
yeah, but it's a different kind of caffeine. It doesn't mess with my nervous system. I'm not anxiously. I'm just like, yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah.
So I bought some matcha powder and I'm gonna try and experiment. Bought some coconut milk, which is expensive. Just like straight coconut milk and water, not the stuff with all the fortified stuff in it. Like just coconut milk and water.
So I think that I buy coconut milk, but I buy coconut milk to cook with because I like this coconut. It's like a coconut milk soup.
It's like a Indian soup.
Is it Indian or is it Thai?
Oh, maybe it's Thai.
Thai.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
morning, Jasmine. Yeah, I think it's Thai. And
I love coconut milk soup, especially with curry.
yes, that's how I make it.
Ah,
I started off with the little curry base that I do, and then I stock it full of vegetables. As a matter of fact, that's something I can have. Anyway, I go to the Asian store right there on Miles at Northfield.
oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that new one. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that thing has been there for a long time. It used
Oh,
to be
has
in
it?
like a toy store. So when you're going up towards Northfield on Miles, sitting off to your right
Yeah.
is an Asian grocery store. I think it's called Cam's. Anyway, they sell a lot of stuff. Well, they sell all Asian stuff. And
Right.
um go in there and buy the ginger, the bulk thing of ginger, fresh ginger. And I buy my coconut milk there. And good morning, Sarika. Yay, she is on time today. So she said that, not me. You always on time to me. But yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But and I buy it, I either buy it in the small cans because I'm not making a lot of soup at the same time. So I either buy it in the small cans or they have some cartons, and it's fat content, which is the one that I like better. I don't want
the high in fat. Yeah.
Give me that. And so
So they have the cartons there. Okay. Because I've been ordering the cartons off of Amazon. So that's good to know.
Yeah, try there and see what see if you
I love the taste of coconut milk. I put it in my smoothies. I put it in my green tea. I love coconut milk taste.
Yeah, it's major. It's all that. Yeah, so and it's an easy soup too. So
okay. Yeah. I've never made it, but I've always eaten it. It's so good.
So it's really just making the broth and then throwing in a bunch of the vegetables that you like. And then if you want some shrimp, throw that in there and stir it up. And I mean, you make the curry paste first.
Yeah.
And then put all the rest and you're done. It's like a 20-minute soup.
Nice. I've never had it with meat in it. It's always been vegetables. So that would be
not even tofu?
Yeah, tofu. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But no like shrimp. I never thought about that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So where did you leave off yesterday? I'm so excited about being here and want to be back. Y'all, there's no place like home. I truly don't think that that is just like something Dorothy said. I think it's true because you get things just the way you like it. And I'm at my desk. I need to straighten out my desk a little bit today, but I'm at my desk. I got my cup of Joseph. I got my microphones. I got my lights. I got all my stuff right here. And I got to go get my doggy this morning now. Who would think that I would actually miss that little girl? Yeah.
It's 135 is the page.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Choice in relationships and fear qualities as false gods. Yes. And so we did. All right. So let's I just want to kind of
Kind
yeah.
of like that last paragraph on 134 is kind of where I left off yesterday.
Okay, great. All right. So greetings, everybody. Blessings to you. Top of the morning. It's a Wednesday, hump day. I can't. I am so grateful and honored that you guys are here and that we are working through this. You know, one of the things I kind of wanted to just kind of circle back on this and talk about it so that we can move the ball forward. And when I look down at the page immediately, I am reminded of this line that says, once the relationship is formed, once you're in a relationship, and I don't care what relationship
What
this is.
relation? Yeah.
It could be a man, male, female. It could be with your sister friends. And let me say this too, because at the wedding, it's really interesting what people notice, like the things that I notice versus what somebody else notices. And, sometimes we come away talking about, oh, they didn't share any or spare any expenses on this. It was just extravagant. But the thing that other people notice is, did the bride have any friends? Like, did she have a best friend, a bestie? They were asking me questions like this because, I kind of made it there was like, at least 40 of us that had come into town from out of town, and we're all staying in the hotel together. And so, I was trying to introduce myself to other people and see who they were and how they fit into the thing. But then when it's over, people started asking me the question, well, did she have a best friend? And I was like, So when we talk about relationships, we don't just talk about, there's a certain dynamic to the male-female relationship that you're in, but there's also a dynamic to just having friends, and it's really interesting, the friends that you have and the friends that show up for you, right? So I think that's it. So I'm gonna put a bookmark in that. We'll come back to that, right? Okay. So it says, once in a relationship, once it's formed, we may ask, and often unconsciously, is this relationship drawing power from me or drawing power? Is it weird? Wait a minute. Is this relationship drawing power from me, or am I drawing power from it? And so there's this idea of, what are we getting out of, or what are we putting into a relationship? And I know for me, no matter where I am, I feel as if I give power. It's as if I need to be a conduit through which something flows out from me to other people. As a matter of fact, that's the whole reason why I go out and grab it in the first place. because it becomes part of the channel that flows through me.
Mm-hmm.
But what you will see, especially in Miami or different places that you go, is that people, there's a lot of people who um, are energy vampires or power vampires.
Why
And
you say especially Miami? What resonates?
gosh,
You say that.
it was really interesting. I said, I was telling people that I don't think Miami people have any shame, right? They put on these, I don't even want to say that they are they provocative outfits?
That's
Um,
Floridians.
okay,
If you could
okay.
go to Orlando, yeah, it's like, mm-hmm. You're like, wow, they're wearing that.
Yeah, and it was like I was thinking to myself, I learned that there was a such thing as a bra that was too small for you, right? And to them, it's just one that only covers up your nipples. It's
Right.
nothing too small. And you don't have to cover up your ass. It's just, and the clothes, the tighter, the better. So as I sat back and I watched the pageantry, because I gotta say to this pageantry, because it didn't even matter if you were accentuating anything or not. It was just kind of how low can you go, which I thought was interesting.
Hmm.
But then the dynamics amongst people too was really interesting, because at one point yesterday when we were at breakfast, I heard this guy, thank you, Rhonda. She was commenting on my hair.
Oh yes, isn't it gorgeous?
It is, I love it. I love it. And look, I'm gonna turn around so y'all can see it.
Yes. Yes.
I love everything about this,
Yes.
right?
Nice.
So at one point we were at breakfast and there was this guy and he was cursing about something. And we were trying not to be in their conversation, but all of a sudden this knucklehead gets up because the woman he's with, yeah, she was on the chunky side. No, she was big. He gets up out of the chair and he takes the phone and he slaps it out of her hand. And he says, he called her a witch with a B on it. He says, "You ain't talking to no damn Uber. What do you think? I'm stupid?" And so then he picks up the phone off of the ground and then he calls the number back. And we're sitting there looking at this as it's unfolding and thinking, is he doing this for the benefit of those who are watching on to exert some power over her? Or is it because he felt as if that he needed to, or the only way that he could look like a big man was by being demeaning towards this woman and women in general, because he went on to talk about other women in the process. But it was just really interesting to me, that whole dynamic. And so this idea of where, the energy or power exchange was something that you kind of watched in the context of relationships. And so, yes, it may be because you see one thing at the beach and then in the shopping malls is something else. Even in reference to how people are in proximity to one another. Who walks in the front, who walks in the back, who walks next to each other. What's the walk like? What's the gait like? Is it to say I am the money man or I am the holding the leash? Is it, there is so much to just sit back and take in if you are really about the business of taking in this energy dynamic.
Hmm.
Yeah, it could be toxic, or it could be just what people learn. And sometimes you learn these things as you're growing up in the context of your, of watching your parents or the lack thereof. And depending upon your relationship to your parents, if you are in relationship with them at all, I know that I have seen people who, I even know folks who have actually had, said that their mother was a prostitute when they were growing up. And then the dynamics of that, meaning I don't know exactly who my father was. We were staying in a house with a bunch of other women. This is the kind of exchange that I witnessed as I was growing up. There's so many dynamics when it comes down to looking at these relationships. So are you drawing from or are you giving to? And so I think that that becomes a question for each and every one of us in the context of our relationships, whether it's a work relationship, a friendship with same-sex people or different sex people, if it is the relationship even with your children, right? What's the energy dynamic there? Do you have to berate them? Do you talk down to them, or do you lift them up? Do you empower them? And so that kind of exchange, no matter where you are, it seems to be going on all the time. And so part of this is just becoming conscious about who you are and what you're giving to a relationship. So I think it's interesting. I think all of that's interesting. You're getting calls in, huh, Stephanie?
Yes.
Mm. Okay, cool. Um,
The coronavirus is come to an end, I think, because everybody's up and at it. Like, hopefully.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah. So then the next question she asked is, am I compromising myself in exchange for safety, money, or status?
Isn't that good?
Yes. And so this is something that, because sometimes it's the relationships we have is to be in association with other people that we perceive to be more powerful than us. And some people are willing to give up some part of their power for the association because they're getting, or they perceive themselves to be getting something, but in actuality, you may be giving more than you are receiving.
Mhm.
So, and people get into sexually, what's the word? Are sexually exploited based on that same thing, just so they could say that, what, call a doctor their lover, or to talk about their relationship to power. I know so and so, right? I mean, if I was one of those people, and people who name drop all the time, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So whether they're name dropping their pastor or their therapist, name dropping is a way that people perceive themselves as saying, well, this person accepts me, so therefore I must be acceptable. So money, safety, status, all of those things, right? Sometimes it is about grabbing for that. I and part of, I think that this book has taught me so much about how much we give up to be in association sometimes when we perceive ourselves as not enough. It makes us less enough. if that's a term I can use. Um, by outsourcing your power to somebody else, it gives away your power to
Mhm.
somebody else or something else. Yeah, I think I'll put it that way. So it says, while these questions are essentially healthy in most, relationships, we begin thinking in terms of psychological, divisive, and conflict inducing opposites. Me or you, mine or yours, good or bad, winner or loser, right or wrong, rich or poor.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's so crucial to be mindful of our judgment, because those are all judgments. Mine or yours, right or wrong. Like all of that is so, um, yeah, being mindful of the judgments, mm, because that's a part of that dynamic, that um, the power struggle, if I can say, the energy struggle. Like if I think I'm envisioning what is that? Where we pulling
Tug of war.
tug of war, yeah, back and forth with
Mm-hmm.
the energy when we're in those dynamics that she just described, that you just read off.
Mm-hmm.
Mine or yours, right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is really like, so traveling with my siblings is always, because we are, I think all of us are really close, right? But like at the sometimes it's funny how they tend to talk about me, because while I may see myself as one way, I just see myself as Sandra, right? I'm not really conscious of the things that I do, but when they describe me as being this over the top personality that just is going to come in and be like, all right, I want you to sit there and you to sit there, and and out of here kind of thing. They make it sound like I am just like, like, ugh. Even on a day, the one day we were going to a beachfront restaurant for this brunch, and this brunch was just an elaborate thing. I did a Facebook Live from there, but it was crowded and it was elaborate. And everything that we went to, they told us basically how to dress, right? So it would say like casual, relaxed, or whatever, or because we didn't know anything before we showed up. We didn't know what we were doing, if we were going to a park or if we were going on a boat ride. We didn't know any of that stuff. It was just like this big unreveal or something like that. And so they said casual chic at a beachfront restaurant. And I put on a swimsuit with my cover up. I put on a 2-piece bikini with a cover up on it. And everybody was looking at me like, they said, like, you not in the dress code. And I was like, it said we going to the beach, right? So if I got a chance to go to the beach, I'm going in my bikini, right? So this is a nice cover up. I was like, I'm doing me. So, but everybody else was like, like I'm the bad girl, tis, tis, tis. And so for a minute there, I was almost like with them, like saying, dang, I should have wore something else. That's what I almost went there in my mind, until we got there and we saw booty everywhere. And I was thinking to myself, I'm perfect, right? See? And then everybody is like, well, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us? And I was like, it's at the beach. But it is this struggle it felt like I'm gonna make Sandra wrong, until of course you get there and you like, oh, Sandra is just like, appropriately dressed, and not over or under, but just okay, right? And so, but that becomes the dynamic that we go through in all of our relationships of, of trying to figure out where we fall in the spectrum. And sometimes, sometimes I am inappropriate, but that's not going to diminish me.
No, you shouldn't.
I could sit there and I could get with the ha ha ha. Look at Sandra coming up in here with the wrong outfit on. I could get into that, or I could just say, like I usually do, well, you know, what did you say the other F word was?
Oh, feelings.
Okay. Yeah, I could just let it go, right? I could just do me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad you stay within yourself. Yeah. I mean, thank you. Thank you, Gretchen. But yeah, Gretchen, actually, I met Gretchen on the resort at a naked resort. No, we weren't naked, but yeah, I am one, when given the option of clothing or little thereof, I am one that's going to opt for little. Just me. Not as little as Miami folks, but yes, little. I'm yes, because I love having the sun on my skin, and there's something freeing and amazing about it. So symbolically, these conflicts represent most people's relationship to God, my power or yours. Now, I want to stay there for a minute, but let me keep reading this. Are you really with me on this earth, or must I try to control everything myself?
I like it. It's true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. I want to let me read it, what she says before I pontificate on this more. And even if a divine power is maneuvering behind the scenes, what Joseph Campbell,
Which it is.
yeah, which Joseph Campbell would call the unseen hand, even if it is maneuvering behind the scenes, how do I know what choices to make? This primary conflict of faith is present in every one of our relationships. How do I know which job to take? How do I know what to say yes to? How do I know what will be forever? Or how do I know what will grow me or inspire me or all of that? How do you know? And so part of this thing is so part of this thing is me always saying, yes, there is a force for good in this universe that is always working on your behalf. Yes to that, right? And can we make bad choices? Well, there's this thing I love. I heard this one day. Like, say for instance, we set off on a course and we are going to the North Pole, right? And you can get there by railway, you can get there by trailway, you can get there. I'm just saying, that's a wonderful.
That's a song.
That's a song. You can get there by boat, you can get there by helicopter, you can get there by plane, you can walk, and the places where you can't walk, you can swim. There's all of these bazillion number of ways to get to the North Pole. Even if you went south, if you go south long enough, you're going to end up
where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it may be that you circling the globe first.
Yeah, exactly.
There, right?
Yeah.
So when I tell people all roads lead to God, right? There is no other destination.
Right.
They say that even in hell, God, right? Even in your version of what you may think of hell, God is. Right. Because as we learned as kids, and we continue to learn every single day, there is absolutely no existence that is outside of God.
Outside of all there is.
Right? That there.
Right.
And so what happens is that there are levels of reveal, right? There are levels to
I like that.
Yeah.
Levels of reveal. That's good.
Yeah, because sometimes what we do is it's like sunshine to me, right? So ultimately, we sit there and we'll have days when there is overcast and clouds, but it does not negate the fact that the sun is always shining.
Right.
The earth tilts and it tilts away, but it never negates the fact that it is there and it is shining. If we could just take that as the same way that God operates in our life, we turn our back to it. And just because we can't see it, night comes and we're not aware of it, but it is always there and always present. And so the question is not if God, right? Yeah, it's where your awareness is.
Mm-hmm.
That's so big.
Mm-hmm. I was driving to the gym this morning, and I don't know if it's a half moon or a full moon, but it looked like a full moon covered by clouds. But then it had this little, so my head is the moon, and it had these little streaks in it like this, but the moon was like just pretty all over on this side. And I just love the moon anyway. But I just was like looking at it and talking to spirit, like, oh my God, I wish I had noticed your radiance 20 years ago. Because my appreciation is so, I'm overwhelmed with the beauty that I see. And I know that it always has been, you
Right.
know?
Right.
It's always been there, and yet my heart is so big and aware of it and attentive to it today.
Right. And
It's
sometimes we're
been
in a
always.
space. Yeah, sometimes we're in that space where we can see it, know it, recognize it, be awed by it. And sometimes life gets,
No, yeah.
you know, life gets in the
Like,
way.
you've been
Those,
there,
yeah,
man.
those are like the clouds that come in. The clouds that come in is the problems we have on the job or the relationships we have with our parents or the, you know,
Exactly.
that's the cloud. And because the clouds are there, you can't see how bright and radiant that doggone sun is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So so it is this thing. So she's saying that this is how we view our relationship to God. Are you with me or not? The question is not, are you with me? Because God has, like the sun, has never moved,
Not at
right?
all.
Never changed.
Oh,
It is
so
all the
good.
stuff that comes in the way that blocks your ability to know this.
Yes.
It's the same. It's the same. They say yesterday as today as forevermore. It's the same. It's gonna give you the same whatever. If it's 100 watts of power, of energy, of love, is giving you the exact same thing. It's just sometimes you're operating on a deficit. Sometimes you're not seeing it or acknowledging it or spending the time. Sometimes it's like that. But it doesn't change the fact that it is always, yes. And then when you turn and just operate in that knowing, ooh, that's so good.
It is.
So good. Yes, 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 yes. So I get so excited about this because it's so good. So let me read on. Like, paradoxically, our challenges in managing these conflicts, in managing these conflicting energies, is to maintain them in the consciousness of the inherent oneness of the universe. So even when the clouds are here, acting as if you getting 100%, because you really are, right? And sometimes we just have to declare in the midst of this stuff. And I think we did this before, this declaration that says that, you know, and I always get this doggone image like in Shazam or something, where you just you ground yourself, you plug into the ground, and you proclaim that you proclaim God even when you don't see God.
Right.
Right. It's because it's like our superpower. And here's the thing, not thinking that it's up there and separate and apart from you where you got to call it forth.
Yeah.
But
No,
in that
this is the magic.
proclamation,
That's right.
yes, in
Yeah.
that proclamation, you are waking up that energy that is already within you.
Yeah.
It's saying it's saying you are plugged in all the time.
And it's in that awareness, like in the Course in Miracles, that collapsed time. That's when time collapses, because in the awareness, you step into the all that is already. Like there's not a waiting. It is.
Right. The holy instant.
Yes.
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 It is.
Yes.
It is already already done. Bam. Bam. That's big. Bam.
It's amazing.
It's so big. So really, it is, you know, in New Thought, they used to say that there is nothing to heal, only God to reveal, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. That's so good. And
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So it is just knowing that in the midst of this, all roads lead to that right there, right? All roads.
Hmm.
So we began this journey by exploring conflict within relationships, right? Relationships generate conflict. Conflict generates choices. Relationships generate conflict. Conflict generates choices, right? So let me uh, I'm gonna read this thing all the way through, and then I'm gonna back up on it. Relationships generate conflict. Conflict generates choice. Choice generates movement. Movement generates more conflict, right? It's a cycle. So now let me say it like this, right? Relationships generate conflict. I used to sometimes get in these little power struggles when I in relationships. And one of the things that I learned from a guy on a plane was something that he learned in his 12-step program. He said the word HALT, HALT. And he says, whenever you find yourself in conflict, or whenever you find yourself upset upset or nervous or acting out in some type of way, he says, HALT. HALT is 4 letters. He says, check in and see, are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Or are you tired? And he says, if any one of those 4, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, are present, it will cause you to act in ways that is not yourself. And so a relationship generates conflict. So how do you know if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Really, those things come out in the context of a relationship, right? So if you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, then the person that you act out upon might be the first person who shows up on the scene, or the person who is closest to you, or whatever it may be. And so when that conflict starts, what is this coming from? What is this stemming from? Is it this? Is it one of those things that is a temporary, I can do a quick fix? That's one of the things that I love about that commercial, when the Snickers commercial, when they gave what is that woman's name, the little woman, they said they gave her a little Snickers bar and say, here, have a Snickers, because you're starting to act like whatever her name is, Betty something, I don't know what her name is, but they gave her a Snicker bar because that was because sometimes when you are hungry, you act out, you act in ways that is not yourself. And so whether it is hungry, angry, I think it's angry, right? Lonely, tired, you are, is it angry? Anyway, you are acting in ways that are other than yourself. That's the conflict, or this conflict creates a choice. What is the choice going to be? Am I going to continue to make this person the cause of this? Am I going to realize that this is calling me to do something different, calling me, whatever it is, it generates a choice for you. And so for me, I have to look at my choices. And if my choices transcends those momentary things, those momentary halt issues, if it transcends that and becomes something that's overriding that I need to address, am I losing power or am I giving power? What is the energy dynamic here? What is the choice that I need to make? Based on these things, it generates a choice. Once that you make that choice, then that choice means that you actually have to move in a direction to alleviate or to correct whatever the problem may be. So sometimes one of the things that we know is that people don't always want to, like, say for instance, in relationships, you know, your partner is doing something that violates the relationship. And the acknowledgement of that means once you acknowledge it, that means that triggers something else that needs to happen, right? Because that triggers a choice that you need to make. If you choose to ignore it, that too can diminish your energy, because that means that you now have to, and Stephanie speaks so much better to this stuff than I do, because this is what she does for a living, but it causes you to have to react or do something in response to that. Everything generates some kind of requirement on us, and the requirement, the what it is it's asking us, where is your faith, right? So are you going to stay there and continue to lose power? And in losing power, that losing power causes you to lose health. I mean, it causes health issues to set up in your system. You'll see yourself becoming tired when you got some kind of energy drain coming into your system. That energy drain on your system can then turn into or metastasize into some kind of ailment, some kind of hurt. If you don't make choices, your choices need to be based on your faith. If you stay based on fear because of what does she say, money, status, safety, if you're making that, those are choices based on fear. If you're making choices based on fear, you continue to lose power. You continue to lose energy out of your system. And that energy resonates to something. So if it is in the realm of relationships, remember that we talked about the organs that are impacted when you are losing energy based on relationships. This is second chakra issues. So this resonates to your sexual organs, your large intestines, your lower vertebrae, your pelvis, your appendix, your bladder, and your hip area, right? The mental issues become about blame and guilt. That's big. Money and sex, you know, and that was something that I found interesting too this weekend, was how often, so I'll talk about my brother and my sister-in-law, right? There was this thing of, he was rushing us, and so they felt like, you know, they didn't pack right because we needed to check out by a certain time. And so my brother started, you know, getting everybody, let's go, you know, like this. And so because they didn't pack, you know, they just started throwing stuff in the suitcase. Everything then from that point on became about, he was rushing us. And so we didn't get a chance to, and I don't know where this is, and I don't know if I have that, blah, 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 blah. It was this endless thing, this blame game, and then wanting him to feel guilty for saying, let's go. My brother, my younger brother, when he called me and he started asking me the questions about, are you ready? Are you packed? He said, be nimble. That's what he said, be nimble. So if we're ready to go, just make sure that you're ready to go when we're ready to go. So if we already know that checkout time is 12 o'clock, right? If we already know that it's noon, don't blame me at 11 o'clock when I start saying, you know, let's go. But that's exactly what happened. So rather than just saying, okay, this is the condition, this is what we're under, let's make it happen, it becomes, I need to blame you because I didn't get a chance to do all the stuff that I needed to do. So this blame and guilt is big time in relationships. We blame people for bills not being paid. We blame people. I mean, stuff that sometimes is just a condition of life and living. When you try to make somebody else guilty for it by blaming them, that sets up a problem. And if you have this blame and guilt game going on all the time, this blame and guilt game causes people to lose energy. And that losing of energy causes all kinds of setups in your body that can lead to other things. So the emotional, mental issues, blame and guilt, money and sex, power and control, creativity, and ethics and honor in relationships. Now, the physical dysfunctions that manifest because of this is chronic lower back pain, sciatica, which is, radiating pain out of your booty, out of your back, down your leg, all of that stuff, sciatica, OBGYN problems, right? Pelvic low back pain, sexual potency. This happens in men and women. It's not just about penises. It can be about pussy too.
You struggling with that there.
Huh?
I said you seem to be struggling with it. Okay.
Urinary problems, right? All of this. So any of these things, if you find yourself having issues in this area, it is not, remember that these things generate conflict. Sometimes that conflict is showing up in your body.
And
when
it
it's
is always showing up. Yeah.
Then just become aware. Awareness is so important. Bring your attention to it and say to yourself, where in this scenario of things am I having problems or losing power?
Yeah.
And then remember that conflict generates movement. That means you have to make choices. And that choice may be to stay or to go, or to deal in some kind of other way about it, but it generates something. So then begin to look at that. Oh my goodness. I hate to be preachy, y'all, but I just want you to, this is serious. This is your health. This is your life. This is life. This is
It's
life.
real. It is so real.
Yes.
And it's almost like almost like a golden key to help change the trajectory of dis-ease that may otherwise be developing inside of you, otherwise may, have been a thing for the future, but having an understanding that we get to control that we have the dominant ability, like we have the ability to like short circuit some of this hurt and pain. Like to me, it's like, it's like the golden ticket to
right.
Yeah, it just feels like that.
Right. Say, for instance, if I'm having sexual issues, if I'm having sexual problems, right? If I'm having that, then the question becomes, why am I having this, right? Where in my life am I having conflict or relationship conflict or some other kind of choice stuff that may be impacting my ability to show up sexually like I want to, right? So if I identify a problem, there is this thing that, right, once you know better, you do better.
That's the hope.
When you don't, it's as if, whereas before it's kind of like my shower, the thing, there's a little thing that goes in, a cartridge that goes in there, and at first it'll start to just drip, right? It'll just be a drip every now and then, just to say, hey, it's about time for you to change this cartridge. And you get this thing about, it's about time to change this cartridge. And then once you become aware of the drip, I tell you, no lie, right? All of a sudden, it goes from being just a drip to a stream of water coming down, right? And that the drip was the indication that you had a problem. If you didn't address it when you had the drip, then now all of a sudden you are going to start hemorrhaging water.
Right.
To
That's
the
good.
point of where it becomes one of those things like, now I got to go out and I got to spend $32 on a new cartridge. Had I addressed it when it was just a drip, I could have called the company, because most of these companies will replace the cartridge for free.
Oh,
Part of
wow.
what they do, right?
Okay.
You'll send you out another thing for free. But when you wait to the last minute, now all of a sudden you wait until the last minute is like somebody losing. So there is, so once you become aware, there is an action that is required. That action says do something now, because this is just an indicator that something more. It's same within your body.
Mm-hmm.
When you notice that something is wrong, right? Even if it's just that, oh my goodness, and I'm saying this to me too, right? Oh, I'm having problems with my memory, or I'm getting cloudy in my thinking, or I'm feeling this in my, whatever it is. It does not mean to ignore it until it gets to the point where you can't ignore it anymore. It means when you notice it, really bring your awareness to the situation and ask yourself, what could this possibly be? And then it requires you to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Now it means do something, right? A problem ignored does not go away. It only, like, I guess for lack of a better word, it just metastasizes. It just grows and grows.
It grows. It
It
grows.
changes. Yeah, it changes. And so the directive, if you know better, you do better, is real, right? And sometimes it is a total about face. Sometimes it means that, okay, I was doing this, now I got to do that, right? If it used to be, here's what we hear. Oh, it used to be so easy for me to drop a few pounds, but now that I'm this age, right? It requires more work. Well, when you first notice, that means that it's time to take some action, right? Not after the fact, not after yeah, you got it when you first, as ship sinking. If you don't do something when you first start taking on water, do something, right? If you don't, oh, it just grows and grows. Everything is like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we break free of this cycle by making choices that transcend dualism and the perceived division between ourselves and others, between ourselves and God.
Perceived.
Ah, yes,
For this word. Mm-hmm.
yes. Perceived division between ourselves and others, and between ourselves and God. Perceived. So long as we focus on trying to control another person and forget that that person is a mirror reflection, a mirror reflecting back to us of our own qualities. That's big, right? Reflecting back to us our own qualities. We keep the conflict alive within ourselves,
Right.
right?
It's the truth.
So long as we focus on trying to control another and forget that that person is a mirror reflecting back to us our own qualities, we keep conflict alive within ourselves. So, so when had my brother, when he called me and he said, "Be nimble," right? So it gets to those things, when I move, you move, we can, we can make this happen, and it not have to be a point of contention or a tug of war, as Stephanie used. It don't have to be that way. Is we all know that we got checkout time coming. We all know that it's about to come. I should not have to, grown folks, we shouldn't have to, yes, just be nimble, be ready, get it together. Let's do this, right? And so if what I do is I'm going to be stubborn, and I'm going to sit here and Well, you should have. You know, that's what we want to do.
Why
And
did somebody call me? Why did
yeah,
somebody tell
yeah.
me? Da, 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 blaming,
Mm-hmm.
projecting,
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, and that goes across the board, even on the
everything.
jobs,
Oh
right?
yeah.
On our jobs, we know that something's got to happen. We know that we're there for a purpose, that this is coming up. Nobody should have to micromanage all the time and tell us this, that, and the other. We already know what has to be done. Well, you didn't say, or you didn't. Come on, come on, come on, come on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Taking ownership of, as far as like the anatomy of the spirit, taking ownership of our wellness, taking ownership of that, like
Mm-hmm.
just taking ownership of it, whatever that means. And somewhere you were just talking, and spirit said to me, the biggest thing is ask that question first. What does this mean? Why am I having a headache? I don't have a headache. I wasn't born with headaches. So my
Right.
body is saying something. More than likely on my journey is drink some darn water. Stop eating. You're not hungry. You're thirsty. You know, drink some water. Like stop
Yeah.
eating. You need water in your body. But when I get a headache, which is very rare, yeah, that's my signal that my body is like, hey, we're drying up like a prune. We need some water. But when
Mhm.
I get a headache, that's a sign for me. Um,
Right.
and now with it, since we started this journey, when my knee, because it has been stopped, it'll stop, and then but when my knee starts like having a little something to say, and I know that I've drank water and my knee is still doing what it do, I'm like, what am I holding on to? Where am I being resistant? Now I get it. Now that's my sign.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I'm being resistant somewhere. Somewhere I'm not willing to just to capitulate and be like, okay, 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 uncle.
Right.
And so I think that asking those questions are really key, not just stating it and noticing it, but asking, what is it? Why is that? Why is that showing up? Why did I even notice it? Because sometimes things can hurt on us and we don't pay attention to it. It's been there so long. Um, so when we're asking those questions,
Right. And I want to say to you guys that this stuff is not easy, right? It is really not
no
easy.
way. Mm-mm.
Because sometimes what we've done is we've made commitments. Our mouth wrote a check that our butt can't cash or whatever. I don't know how it goes. But sometimes we make commitments to situations, to people, to all kinds of stuff um, that are not for our highest and best good. And yet, because we've invested time, money, energy into those things, we stay in them because we've invested time, money, energy. We've got identity, we've got safety, we've got status, we got all kind of stuff tied into particular situations. So doing an about face is not always easy. Is the question of what is everybody gonna think, or what is this, what is that, we all, it is not easy to make decisions that are for your highest and best good. I get that, I get it all day long.
Mm-hmm. But
But
if I had a permission slip, which I have in my office, you hear me talk about them all the time, and my permission slip today would be, it is okay to change your mind. And I don't think that we are taught that. I don't think it's emphasized enough. We get into a religious sect and we feel like that's where we have to be. And it's so tumultuous to get out and change our minds. We get into connections, marriages, and we have the rules that it's not okay to change your mind. It comes with all of these judgments. In some family of origins, it's not okay to leave your city where you were born and raised in. All of those, we have to give ourselves permission to change your mind. I get to change my mind every minute of every day. I get to say that I'm going to do it different, and it's okay. And it might hurt the people around us, if you want to call it hurt. It may not be comfortable for the people around us when we make those choices, but if you just, know that you have permission, we have permission to change our minds. We do. We have permission to change our minds, and not understanding that is like humongous. And yeah, we've been trained to, especially women, we've been trained to not rock the boat or hurt people's feelings, and it's, whatever. But we do have a right to change our minds and go in another direction.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
gotta grab the phone. Sorry.
Okay, I agree. Absolutely. We have the right and sometimes responsibility to change our minds and go in another direction, to give ourselves permission to do that without feeling as if we have somehow um, ooh, we've let other people down. And this thing is not to blame somebody else. I have a friend of mine who, after, say, for instance, I think it was maybe 12 years of marriage, she decided that that marriage was no longer for her. And her ex-husband, she got out of it, and she got the divorce and everything, but her ex-husband used to use language that was really like in that blame role, like, you ruined my life, as if to say that I already had my life already planned out, and here you go making another decision now. Um so there was this, when we blame somebody for the trajectory of our lives, good, bad, and different, but when we blame other people, that blame puts the power somewhere else, right? And it doesn't necessarily go to the person that we are blaming it on, but it goes away from us. So blame is something that sucks, or which, in which you, when you blame somebody, you are abdicating your power of decision, your power to own a particular choice that you are making. And by abdicating that power, you lose power. That means that you set up for something to diminish within your life, right? You're setting yourself up for that. Now, the other thing is so she can't, people do not have, let me say this for you, just in case you don't know this, people do not have the ability to ruin your life. Now, you can say, you messed up my day, but even that is a choice. Even that has ramifications, right? So it becomes this thing of knowing that this may like, ooh, this may mess up my day, this may mess up my week, but I do not have, nobody has the power to ruin your life. You have to take back ownership of that and say, okay, given this situation, now what? Now what? Right? Because to make it seem as though somebody can ruin or mess up your life is to go back to this choice of my power or God's power. Are you with me on this planet? Are you with me in this universe? Right? That becomes about that question. And the moment you make this about somebody else, you disempower yourself. So we have to realize that we have to take back our power. That losing that job did not ruin your life. It does not have the power to ruin your life unless you give it away, unless you give it to that. And even then, you change your mind. You can change your mind. So let me try to finish this up, because we got probably about 5 more minutes. So long as we focus on trying to control another person and forget that that person is a mirror reflecting back to us our own qualities, we keep conflict alive within ourselves. Seeing ourselves and others in symbolic unions, however, helps us to accommodate differences. Ooh, if we could know that this person is here for my growth and for my good, so that I can see myself more clearly, so that I can understand more clearly what I am to do and how it is that I can, how it is I can grow. This person is here for my good, no matter what that looks like. So this is the symbolic sacrament of communion, right? All of this is about that. I think that, I think that when we recognize, we talked yesterday about, when I was still in that other city, we talked yesterday about this thing about fears becoming our false gods, right? The fear of so much is we get caught up in all of these different kinds of fears. And those fears don't allow us sometimes to release stuff. And it could just be the fear of, well, what do I do without? What do I do if I don't? What do I do? Sometimes that's the fear, the uncertainty. But if you are operating in the awareness that God, right? In the awareness that everywhere equal, even if you don't believe in God, right? Because I sat next to a guy on the plane who, was very clear and adamant about not believing in God, which is cool. I don't, whatever you tend to call it. For many people, when something happens, especially something serendipitous, right? When something happens, we have this notion that, wow, there is something that is operating in this universe. It just, something. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it is. I always tell people that I use the word God for lack of a better term, because a lot of times when you use a term like God or spirit or whatever, most people are putting it into a category, right? Or they apply certain qualities to that idea that they have. But if you are like I challenge myself to say this too is God. I'll tell y'all this because I thought it was interesting. My nephew traveled with us. And he said something very interesting as I heard him talk. He was, my nephew has just got a scholarship to play basketball at a university. And he's really interesting, when it comes down to this. And he said, now this boy, I want to call him a boy. He's only 18, 20, maybe 20, right? And he said, while we were at breakfast, he was like talking about who one of his heroes was. And he said, he started talking about Larry Bird. And I was like, Larry Bird, first off, dude, you wasn't even born when Larry Bird was playing, right? That's what I want to tell him. And I also want to say, what schools you going to where y'all learning about Larry Bird as a basketball hero, right? Like, do you not know about Michael Jordan and a LeBron? I was like in that mindset, but I'm not a big sports person, so I really wanted to just hear what he was saying. And so I was just kind of quiet, just listening. And he started talking about this Larry Bird, and he says, well, Larry Bird played a whole basketball game without using his dominant hand. So it was as if he was right-handed, he put his right hand sort of behind his back and just used his left hand so that he could strengthen his, the antithesis of what his regular was. He was like, so sometimes you got to challenge yourself to do what is not natural for you in order for you to develop that ability on that side, which I thought was like, oh, okay. Now, does that make him heroic? I don't know. Maybe this is what all athletes do. They challenge themselves to develop their weaker stuff so that they can bring in, they can develop that, right? So who's to say? But but the point being is sometimes we have to do exactly what is not our normal in order to reveal some wonderful greater possibility for ourselves. So if you know that you have and I got to put up some pictures around that, but if you know your tendency is always to say no, right, out of fear, out of uncertainty, or if you know that you have a tendency to shut up, to sit back, to respond to to respond to something in a normal way, sometimes you have to challenge yourself to do the opposite or do what's different. And so stretch, whatever you want to call it. But we have to begin to live into the unknown or the unfamiliar in order for us to see that, greater is possible. Greater is always possible. It is a possibility. So, we can learn stuff from that boy or anybody, right? In trying to figure out, how do we go beyond where we were into what's possible? We make choices for things that drain us for, I don't know, many different reasons. But at a certain point, we have to recognize that each and every one of us, like it says in here, is a divine creation, a divine being with a purpose and a plan for our lives. And when you are abdicating that to somebody else for whatever reason, if it's safety, if it's security, I mean, safety and security is the same thing, but if it's safety, money, status, if we're doing it out of fear, if we're doing it out of any number of things, our choices are not based on faith. Choices based on faith have divine, power, the divine power behind it. And those that based on fear, they are just like a black hole into which you are dumping your, all of your gifts, talents, all of your abilities, all of that other stuff. So we've got to learn how to lift it up. And so I think that is one of the wonderful things about this. Communion also is, it's this idea of who we're breaking bread with, meaning who we're in relationship to. Your relationships are not just about the other person. They are really about you. How is this growing me? What am I giving? What am I receiving? All of that stuff is right here in the midst of this until it bears our looking at it. So I would encourage you. Yes. Choice. So I am so appreciative of you guys being here and listening. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll be talking about the challenge of managing creative energy. So we're switching into a new section. We are still on the second chakra in Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss, MYSS. And so we'll just keep moving on through this. I think that tomorrow, tomorrow we'll talk about some of the habits that we create for ourselves. I think that this is a good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. So I thank you for being here. I bless you. I bless you. I bless all of this. Jerry, it's good to see you. Gretchen, Rhonda was here, Desmond, all of you guys, I thank you. Sarika, blessings, all of you. Stephanie, thank you. I know she is back at grinding at work. And so I just appreciate the fact that you guys are here and we get to journey through this together. I get to go pick up my dog now. So whatever. It's all good. It's all good. So I bless you. And I will see you same time tomorrow. All right. See you then. All right. Have an amazing, amazing Wednesday.